This is my good friend James Parch. My name is Mark Aylward. This is not a particular podcast. James and I just agreed that it might be fun to talk about AI. Contextually speaking, I'm non-technical. I'm in the talent acquisition space, and James is, I would call you kind of many things, James, but I think expert in operational efficiency with a deeper technological breadth of knowledge than you give yourself credit for. That's how I would describe you without any warning.
I appreciate that. I like to say every breakthrough, every innovation begins with an idea that most people are really afraid to try.
Yeah.
So I love working with the leaders who aren't content with just doing what everyone else is doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I often come in when companies have those great ideas or tricky problems that they're either not sure how to handle or they just don't have the resources because they're focused on their day to day. So that's that operational standpoint. And what I do differently is really bringing assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
validating, because to me, if you're not making hypotheses, you're not being strategic.
Yep.
So we need to make hypotheses. We need to validate those hypotheses, but we need to remain practical. What does an ideal state look like? Then we use technology. Only
Yeah.
then do we use technology. So to that point, it's then bringing in the right platforms or whatever, because we already know what that future state is. We're not designing something to fit some really expensive thing that was purchased.
Yeah, well, that's the opposite of what everybody I've ever worked with does, and I wish they all did it the way you do it. But I suppose that perpetuates our streams of revenue in some capacity. But yeah, you had sent me a draft of some summary notes, and I was wondering, James, to begin here because we're going to go for another 20 or 30 minutes, I think. Um, what are the two or three or maybe four subtopics? My desire was to get your opinion on AI complicated as you do so well for people that might be more like me, business owners, executives, professionals that aren't technical, but are looking at this AI thing going, I should pay attention to that. I don't know that I'm ever going to be an expert in it, but I should pay attention to the trends, the tools, listen to the opinions of others. I'm not going to dive in deep like you might, but I can't ignore this because it's not going away. So, how would you approach the next maybe 20 minutes just topically with that in mind?
Yeah, so a couple of key topics. The first one is just generically, AI is not magic. What I always like to say is if you've ever worked with interns, AI is like having an incredibly well-read intern.
Mm-hmm.
They can come in and they can do research fast and they know how to put presentations together, but they don't know what's inside your head without you telling them. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to create the next presentation for the board if you don't tell them what you're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one area. Another one is that AI is not coming for our jobs. To me, it's more about keeping humans in the loop. I think the biggest myth is that AI is taking our jobs. What's really happening is roles are being redefined, and it's
Mm-hmm.
on us to see value outside of our roles. Sure, will some roles be obsolete? Absolutely. But new roles will be created. And then the last one is really uh, real world application with AI. The authenticity problem with AI, it's not because of AI, that's because of us.
Yeah.
Whether it's laziness, whether it's expectations, it's a misunderstanding of what AI really is. But to me, those are like three core conversations that just keep coming up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think those are great topics, and I definitely want to dive into those. So maybe I'll play devil's advocate, and you can
Please.
play, the leader of the pack. And I think that the obsolescence of jobs thing is kind of resonates with me because of my background. I have seen jobs become obsolete my entire career, and my career, just for context, is almost 40 years of helping people find work. And all of those people were in the technology space, which kind of explains maybe to people how you and I connected because it wasn't random, you know? So I was never worried about anyone losing their job. But I'd be very interested in your going a little deeper into that. So let's do those one, two, three. Maybe we spend 5 or 10 minutes on each one, and I'll just try and poke holes in your logic and give you the opportunity to continually refine so that the audience goes eventually, oh, I see what he's saying. That's my goal.
Awesome. Let's do it backwards though, because I really like this whole AI is taking my job thing.
Hmm.
Um, there's a couple of different points that I want to make there. The first one is just really thinking about the travel agent. They did not disappear when we could all book our travel through Google. We can
Hmm.
all go to travel websites that do everything for us. What the travel agent did is they shifted more towards being specialized advisors who create experiences. Sure, there's less of them, but the ones that are good are a lot more impactful. But we
Hmm.
could take it even further. Accountants didn't disappear when the calculator came out. And when computers started doing this, hell, when I was in high school and I'm only 40, we still learned how to do accounting on the paper. So we understood why the calculations were what they were,
Hmm.
because we all still have to look at financial documents in business today. And if we don't understand how those numbers are created, what does it matter?
Yeah.
So that to me is just at the highest level. But now you start to see financial people becoming experts in code, in policy, in practices. So I believe that if you're afraid AI will take your job, the real fear is that you're replaceable.
Hmm.
I think you need to lean into uniquely human skills, empathy, creativity. We all say we're not creative. I said the same thing. My creativity comes in organic conversation. It does not come in visual. It does not come in writing. I'm
Hmm.
horrible at both of those. So I don't think that AI can mimic those convincingly. And maybe that's a yet, but where we are right now, it cannot mimic those convincingly.
It's such an interesting conversation that we don't have time to go fully into, but it's a great point, and it makes me think. One of the things that I'm doing in my work as I try to get closer to that, Mark, what do you do and for whom do you do it, is the concept of making people or helping people become more valuable. And to your point, what's job security? I don't know. I've never known what that was. I hear people use the term all the time, but I never believed it existed. I don't believe it exists today. So how does one protect oneself from the notion that there is no such thing as job security and employers are not loyal to employees and anyone is replaceable? Well, make yourself less replaceable. And what does that mean? Valuable. What does that mean? Communication skills, dealing with complexities, getting more empathetic in your listening skills, learning how to write better, perhaps learning how to code. Now there are people that don't know how to code that probably could learn how to code much more easily. There's a litany of things that one can do to make oneself more valuable, therefore prevent getting replaced. So it's not a completely preventable thing, to your point, but these things will be taken away from you if you allow people to take them away from you.
Mark, if you don't mind, just a really unpopular opinion, and it might be unpopular because it attacks big tech,
Mhm.
but the AI will take your job narrative, in my opinion, benefits big tech companies. It creates fear and urgency.
Yep.
So for most people, yeah, AI is going to change. Most people, it'll change 30% of their jobs. Some people, it's going to go away. Automation got rid of things too.
Yep.
Um, but it's not going to replace 100% of it. Humans in the loop. I envision a future where three things are going to be true. We're going to have companies that index so heavily on AI that they prioritize efficiencies, and they're going to lose some of their consumers because of that, but they're going to be ultra efficient, high margins. We're going to have the companies that, like Made in America, say we are only ever going to have humans. It's going to be authentic, genuine experience, no AI whatsoever. And you will have extreme loyalists to those brands, maybe low margins, but no different than the 99-cent Arizona iced tea. I don't need to increase prices. I'm still profitable, right? The guy's great with what he does. And then you're going to have the Goldilocks zone. We're going to leverage AI to make things efficient, quality of life, do what feels right without taking the human element out of it. We need to keep humans in the loop.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I believe that, and we talk about AI taking jobs, is to me, um, in 5 years, not using AI will seem just as strange as not using Google today. I mean, 10 years ago, the joke was just let me F and Google it for you. There's a website for it that literally you could send to people.
Yeah.
And Googling was argued back and forth between business leaders if it was a skill or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today,
No, it's
Googling is Googling.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think I'll in the essence of time, let me close out, and certainly I'll pass it
Yes.
back to you if you have any final thoughts on this particular subtopic. But, look at the recruiting space and look at job boards, you know, look at LinkedIn, look at Monster. And I remember when they all came out, man, everyone's like, oh, recruiting's just going to disappear. I'm like, not recruiting, administering resume distribution might disappear, but that was never recruiting to begin with. Having Being able to be a recruiter the way you should, and I hate that word, but I'm using it anyway, requires human intervention. It requires personality. It requires nuance. It requires soul. It requires relationship building. And it's why the big conversation has always been online. Well, I sent out 400 resumes and I didn't get any responses. And I'm like, yeah, well, why would you send out the 401st? Like, what are you doing? Right. So I think that's another perfect analogy. And you might not have been privy to it like I am because I'm a recruiter, but everyone was talking about the fact that I was going to be without a job. And I'm like, no way. There's no way. You just don't understand what real recruiting is.
So you're the perfect example. You understood the value of your role beyond your day-to-day tasks. You saw that there was something you were doing today that could be optimized
Mm-hmm.
because what your real value was not what those tasks were. There's some
Right.
people who don't understand their value beyond the tasks, and that could be their leadership, that could be the nature of them, that could be the nature of their job. So really helping people understand what other capabilities they have and value they have to add.
That's wonderful, dude. I think we button that first of three topics up and move on to number two, unless you're compelled to want
No,
to
let's do
share
it.
something
So
else.
number two is really simplifying AI just for all of us. I say AI isn't magic. So I talked about having an intern. Another example I like to use is a microwave versus stove for a chef. Sure, chef can put all their ingredients together into a dish, pop it in a microwave. It's gonna be far different than because that's just a tool where the stove takes a skill for them to know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way I like to put it. But when we talk about AI isn't magic, what I like to say is AI is it's just recognizing patterns, which humans do very well, but at massive scale. It's able to look at millions or hundreds of millions of examples. But where AI is different from automation is automation repeats those examples. AI can predict what comes next. We all have smartphones nowadays. You start typing and it predictive text.
Mm-hmm.
It assumes what's going to come next. And whether it's doing it based on a model or it's doing it based on your behavior, it's starting to learn what comes next. AI is autocomplete for our thoughts. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It
Yeah.
auto text gets it wrong a lot. AI
Mm-hmm.
is no different. We don't get mad at our auto text. I
Yeah.
mean, we might fudge up a conversation and it gets really funny to revisit, but we don't get angry. So why are we so angry with AI not doing things we have some snake oil salesman told us it should do? We get mad at it. But
Yeah.
like, just think about it.
I'll interrupt your thought process for a sec because when you said we don't get mad at the autocorrect, like I spent a long time getting mad at it. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, what are you getting mad at that for? It's going to keep happening and it's fine. You should learn how to laugh at that. And I did. But anyway,
Yes.
just
So
no,
yeah, I mean that's my take on it. Autocomplete for your thoughts is the easiest way I can put it, as it is today.
so let me ask you this in the context of that. I had this epiphany, and this is going to sound stupid, but that's okay. I'm comfortable with my stupidity. The agent, and I've heard that word, and I've had some people reach out and say I can help you teach you how to develop your own agents. And one of the things that I kind of discovered, and I think this is germane, and I want your opinion on it for people like me. I rediscovered that when I open up my chat GPT, what would you call it? Client, agent, account? I don't know. Or Perplexity or Claude or whatever the other guys out there are. That's mine. That's not a general repository for everyone. That's my guy. That's my virtual assistant. And what I'm doing as soon as I open and start typing is I'm teaching my guy. Is that the case?
Yes and no. So, yes, if you're leveraging projects, because projects are like a continuity of stream of thought, or if you're iterating inside a single chat, is what they call them. As soon as you create a new chat, it might not recall any of your old stuff if you don't give it that memory to do it. So, leveraging projects in Claude and ChatGPT is like having a consolidation. So, you could have 5 or 6 projects all based on company branding, and you load a bunch of assets in. Now that's your guy just for that thing.
Okay.
As chats start to get too long, though, it really gets messy because it's trying to recall a bunch of different information that might not be relevant.
Okay.
So being very specific in how you put those together makes it stronger. But it goes back to you. What do you want out of it? What tone of voice did you set for the model? What information did you load in? And how are you asking your questions?
Yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out, same as ever, right? It's like
Always, always.
it's like that's why the value of the prompt is so significant. The context of it, the specificity of it, the tone of it, the voice. I mean, the more detail you give the prompt, the more efficient the actual chat GPT agent can be.
Yep. Mark, one thing I just want to touch on is the term agent here. So
Okay.
it's a newer term that we're hearing more in the mainstream. In ChatGPT itself is what they call a large language model. So think of it like a personal chat room with your virtual assistant.
Okay.
Agents are, in AI sense, are actually able to perform actions autonomously. So this is something new we're seeing, and it's not yet distributed to the masses. It's out there, but it takes a little technical know-how. An example would be if I wanted to find the best flight to Chicago next Tuesday for under $400. I could tell an agent to go do that for me. And in today's world, you might have one agent that searches, one agent that puts it all in a chat for you, one agent that then displays it back to you in a way you want to see it and gives you references. What's coming quickly is you won't need 3 agents. You will be able to go and say, give me all of these flights. And if you find one under $400 in these times, book it for me. And all of those individual tasks, those sequences of actions will happen without you needing to give it explicit step-by-step instructions.
No, that's wonderful. Let me ask you something then in the context of that. Can I build an agent with my experience and knowledge, or would I need someone like you?
Today, you can do it yourself. There are so many videos that in under 10 minutes, you can build an agent. And if you follow those videos step by step, maybe it takes you 20 because you're not familiar with the terminology, but in under an hour, you can have an agent that will email sort, schedule meetings, do research compilation for you. It's happening very, very quickly. A year ago, that answer would have been different.
Okay. Okay. It still intimidates me. It still intimidates me. But I guess that's for me to figure out. I still in this moment, if I were going to build an agent, because everything that you just mentioned, be great to have someone else do that for me, right? I would probably outsource the building of the agent still to someone else. Is that, am I misguided there, or is that just my own personal lack of confidence in my technical acumen?
I don't think it's either. So to me, I'm gonna liken it to a new employee. Whether you hire a resource from a staff aug organization or you hire a full-time employee, they require clear instructions. They require supervision and adjustments. Now, that being said, if it's staff aug, they might be a little ahead of a brand new employee because they might have a niche that you're interested in.
Hmm.
So that would be paying somebody to build the agent for you. Whereas if you just hire a new employee, you might have a little more work to do onboarding and helping that employee really understand what you want to accomplish and how you prefer it to be accomplished. That would
Hmm.
be you building your own. So a little more work, but not as intimidating as you might think because you get to iterate back and forth with it.
Hmm.
I do think a good way to start is looking for examples that other people have built, seeing what you like and don't like. And then a lot of these are open source. And what I mean by that is you could see exactly what this person did without being a
Right.
coder. And then
Right.
you just change the little parts of it that you don't like.
Right. Right.
And it really can be that simple if it's a simple thing you're looking to do. More complex things, we're getting way deeper into agentics and a lot of the emerging tech, which in the next year you'll see a lot more of and you'll hear a lot more. But right now, a lot of that, like if we talk about Salesforce Agentforce, amazing applications, very few real world success examples. similar to
Hmm.
what we saw with S/4HANA when SAP came out with that years ago.
Yeah.
We said it was going to be the future, but nobody had actual tangible results of implementing it. So how could we say that? So we're seeing that right now in the agent space.
Yeah, and it's another interesting perspective before we move on to number three, which I'm almost ready for, and that is this whole notion. We used to call it vaporware. And it was like, I have seen so many new technologies. And the one that sticks in my craw, which makes me old, I suppose, is that year 2000 piece of bullshit. Like that was going to end the world, if you remember. And then, people are like, this internet thing, that's not going to stick around. Dot com bubble, client server stuff, obsolescence of particular machines. And I can think of my buddy who has passed away, God rest his soul, Vietnam vet, mainframe COBOL guy. He goes, all this object oriented stuff is bullshit. I can do anything in COBOL, So it's like, I, that's the noise I wanted to kind of try and cut through, right? But I think that, to me, AI is clearly here to stay. It's probably going to look different 6 or 12 months from now than it looks today, but maybe not substantially. Is
Yeah.
that fair?
Yep. I think AI landscape right now is really crowded with hype artists, a lot of false prophets.
Yeah,
I said snake oil salesman. We all know the reference there. The real breakthroughs will require brutally honest assessments of what's actually possible, not
yeah,
just right now, but we got to stop with the shiny promises of tomorrow. We can make hypotheses on what tomorrow will be, but let's test them and prove whether they're right or wrong. Let's
yeah,
not just speak in facts and speak in actualities that aren't real yet.
yeah. Cool. No, very helpful. I can't imagine that's not going to help a lot of people that listen. How about number three?
So number three, we were talking about the authenticity in AI. And I say the authenticity problem is not with AI, it's with us. It's the fact that we don't know what to do with the output, or we don't put enough effort in. And what I mean by that is we've all heard of AI hallucinations. And just to break down what a hallucination is, I like to say, it was 18-year-old James in high school taking a test he didn't study for, making up a BS answer because I didn't want to leave it blank. And sometimes it would have been way better if I just left it blank, but I didn't. That's a hallucination, right? It's not malicious. AI is just trying to complete its task. We asked it something. So when we talk about authenticity, AI written content feels empty because it lacks personal experience. It's like listening to someone describe a vacation they've never taken. It might be very accurate, but it's missing heart and soul. They didn't breathe the air. They didn't sit on the beach. They didn't eat the food. They're
Yeah,
just repeating what they read or heard from somebody else.
yep, yep. Yeah, no, I find that I got kind of punched in the face with the authenticity issue when I first started looking at images, and I'm like, anybody that doesn't know that's AI is just an idiot, right? It's like, come on, like there's nothing authentic about that. And I don't. That was actually 6 months ago when I first saw. I started. I think I was calling up an image because somebody said you got to try this stuff out with images, and I'm like, well, give me a picture of me. More athletic than I actually am, sitting at my desk composing something on the beach in my new home, and I'm like, it did it just like that. But it was like, I wouldn't share that with anybody. Looks like a cartoon.
There's a couple reasons for this. So AI needs to enhance authenticity. It won't replace it. But what I also like to say is um, AI, it's generic because it comes from the averaging of millions of historic examples. So it's trying to assume based on millions and millions of examples what this thing should look like. But it's human touch is the editing. It's the adding the personal experience, injecting your unique perspective. Like what does storytelling come from? It comes from my observations, not from the interpretation. So even an artist, like there's people like me, I can go to an art gallery and there's not a lot of pictures that give me emotion. I don't understand them. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean the artist is worse, but the interpretation. So why do we let AI interpret what we have observed? And I go back to it should enhance your authenticity, not replace it.
Hmm.
We use it to handle the parts we struggle with, but then we need to do the editing. We need to iterate off of it. So it's great to unblock us. It's great to take something we've put together and then say, give us an alternative view and 5 questions you would ask to shoot this down. And now I'm prepared to think differently because we're biased in our opinions, whether we want to
Mm-hmm.
be or not.
Mm-hmm.
So AI has application, but it should not be for organic creativity on its own.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. No, dude, as I expected, this was going to be a lot of fun and very enlightening. And you have a wonderful gift to take things that are complex, at least to me, and make sense of them so I can understand what it is that I didn't understand before. And that's a really one of my favorite things about you. And I have quite a few, but
It's nice to pay that back, Mark, because 10 years ago, I feel you did that for me in my career when I was stuck and I couldn't make sense of all the different directions that I wanted to go versus stepping back and looking at what was available to me and thinking about it differently. So it's nice to be able to return the favor.
yeah, it's funny. Thank you for that. And your testimonial is, at least part of it is on the front page of my website because you said working with Mark was a transformative experience. I'm like, I like that line. People can wonder about what it means. And in order to find out, you got to give me a call.
Yes, yes.
So I think the thing to do now, because this is a one-off, right? This is not my podcast, it's not your podcast, but I have one and you have one. So I'm going to introduce my podcast so that anybody that might be interested in the way we think can go listen. And then I want you to do the same. And then maybe what we can do is just at the end, just, say goodbye. But also any closing thoughts that you might have. So mine is I do it with a good friend of mine, Jim Gurley, who's my co-host, and mine is called the Imperfect Men's Club. And what we talk about is the things that middle-aged men talk about. Both of us have a conservative worldview, and we're not shy about sharing that. It is not a G-rated podcast. It's probably an R-rated podcast. We don't get dirty, but I drop F-bombs and I'm pushing the limits of humor and silliness. But yeah, we talk a lot about professional development, a lot about the 5 areas of life that we focus on, which are health, career, relationships, worldview, and money. And we find that everything's at the center of our wheel, which is the self-awareness, self-reflection, and that if you start talking about one of those 5 areas for like health, you can't not talk about the other 4, because if you're in better condition, you're more productive professionally. Chances are your relationships are more vibrant, so on and so forth. So we're almost 100 episodes in. If you like this, you'll like that. So that's my spiel. Tell us about your brand new one, Jim. Where are you with that? What's it called and what's it all about?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, first recording is actually going to be next week. Really, really excited. We're probably after that a week to two before it gets published. But the podcast itself is called Breaking Dogma. And what it's about is exposing false promises of conventional wisdom. It showcases the leaders, strategies, approaches that really deliver exceptional results by breaking from the herd. And what inspired this is I started to feel very disillusioned. There was a lot of inspiration in life of what the big four consulting looked like, or being an attorney was, or being a doctor was, or a CEO. And as we get older and we meet people in these roles, that that goes away, and it's not the people, but it's our expectations and understandings. And once in a while there's a few people who really break from the mold, whether that is making bold decisions that nobody else had the chutzpah to make, or it was a turning point in their career that caused them to say enough is enough, I'm going to go against the grain and do something else. So each episode focuses on a specific area where mainstream thinking falls short.
Mhm.
We really dive into the alternative approaches that actually work, that have real results, not vaporware. And we take real stories from executives, founders, operators who have found success by challenging orthodoxy. But it's about, and what we want to leave our audience with is a playbook for those ready to think differently about growth, transformation, and impact.
Yep.
It's not abstract theory. It's about concrete decisions, pivotal moments where breaking dogma really led to breakthrough results. It's the stories that we see but might not always hear.
Yeah, no, what a great title. And as I'm listening, I mean, I've lived my life in a contrarian state. So I love breaking rules, and not laws, but rules just that are in place for the sake of rules, and establishing new things to reach for, new ideas, new parameters, new paradigms. So no, I think that's exciting. I'm looking forward to being a guest because I don't do anything according to what anybody says.
I love that. Maybe that's why we get along so well. When somebody gives me a bunch of rules, I always wonder like how much can I flex through these and how much are these causing some of your issues?
I know. There's a lot of people out there that are cringing right now at that, and a lot of other people that are laughing. Any closing thoughts, James? I really appreciate you doing this with me. This was fun.
Yeah, I just encourage people to try AI. There's a lot of free tools out there. We're seeing a lot of cases where people who are lonely are using it, or people who want to document a family tree or a long history, but play with it. Don't be afraid of it. Start with just asking it questions like you'd ask Google. You can talk to it. Just play around with it. There's nobody's watching you. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Nobody's going to post it on X or Facebook if you're not sharing it. But I really encourage people to give it a try for different applications, even if they don't feel comfortable talking to their network about what they're doing. If they feel like they're cheating a little,
Yep.
try it for yourself. Figure out what works and doesn't work for you, and understand a little bit more about the technology, because it's not Skynet coming for our lives. But I do also want to remind people my newest thought is, when you have a fear about the future of AI and what it would be, just remember, when you post something online and you spit vitriol at somebody, you're training the future of AI on how you want to be interacted with. So
Yeah.
just be a decent human being. Like,
Yeah, it's a good reminder. Yeah, and the other thing is just from just an ease of use. And I have a tendency, I think we as humans have a tendency when we're teaching something to someone else to start at step 5 because we know steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 so well. So to really dumb it down, it's $20 a month for any of these tools to start playing around, and you can cancel any time. There is no barrier to entry. Just start, like James says, just start playing with it.
yeah, and a lot of them have a free option too if you want to start playing. It might be limited, but I would encourage the $20 one. You get a lot more out of it.
You do. James, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to scheduling my guest appearance on your show. And as soon as we do guests on ours, which we really don't do right now, you'll be at the top of that list. And maybe there's another one of these to do. Who knows? Give it some thought.
Yeah, I look forward to how many boundaries we're going to break when we get you on that show.
Uh,